Hold your horses on Sam Leavitt, apparently, because Jeff Sims is really heating up in training camp.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. If you have not hit subscribe on YouTube yet, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 before the season starts. We can do it. We got a long ways to go, but I know we can do it. We got the best fans in the whole wide world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. There's no playoffs right now. Sports aren't sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in on today's edition of the show. We got to talk about training camp. Now, I said we would have an episode yesterday on Saturday, and it turns out that I was able to attend practice because the Sun Devils had a training camp session Saturday night. So here's your episode today with an update on what I got to witness at training camp. I've already told you guys I don't want to give you secondhand information that isn't from me witnessing it. When I give you guys updates, I want it to be because I really was able to see it for myself. I don't want to read other people's stuff. So I was able to go to yesterday's practice, and I can give you updates. I can also tell you some of the things I heard from several people that I spoke with yesterday. And the one consensus thing that I heard from, I spoke to no less than like 10 people. They all had one thing in common, was that Jeff Sims looked better than we thought he would. Now, in case you're not familiar with Jeff Sims, he is a transfer quarterback. He came in after spring ball to help give some depth at the position, and the expectations weren't necessarily high. This podcast wasn't necessarily high on Jeff Sims. He's not had the greatest career in college. He was okay at Georgia Tech, and then last year he was at Nebraska, and he was dreadful. Like, we can call it what it was. He wasn't good last year. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in college football. Coming to Arizona State, the bar is low. It's not like anyone is expecting Sim to come out here and be the starting quarterback or be the one who gets ASU back into bowl game contention. You're looking for him to provide depth at the position and a really good veteran backup option in a break glass scenario for the team. So far through training camp, from what I have heard and from what I have seen now, it's not bad. It's really not. One of the comparisons that was made to me was Emory Jones. And before you get really upset, because I know Emory Jones wasn't good at Arizona State, it's important to remember that Emory Jones was placed in an offense that did not cater to his strengths, which is running the football. It's not a surprise that last year at Cincinnati, he looked like a completely different player than he was at Arizona State. Jeff Sims fell in a similar situation when he was at Nebraska. He was productive at Georgia Tech, goes to Nebraska, and is not good. The offense didn't fit him. Now he's coming to Arizona State, where the offense fits what he wants to do a little bit better. And there's ups and downs. I will tell you that much. I'm not saying that he looks like the next Heisman Trophy winner. He looks comfortable, but he is learning the playbook still. So you have some highs, you have some lows. You have some really good plays, and then you've got bad plays, which I have always been of this opinion, and I'll voice it now. I would rather you throw a ton of interceptions in training camp if it means understanding, hey, I can't get this look. These are my limitations. Anything like that. I would rather you throw a bajillion interceptions in training camp than be flawless. Because when you get onto the field for actual game time experience, you need to know what your limitations are. You need to know what you can and can't get away with. You need to know the offense really well. Take those risks. Do it now, because you get to game time, you're going to be prone to making mistakes, and then you lose football games. So yeah, there's highs and lows here, but I'm not too concerned with the lows. There's work to be done for sure. There's passing mechanics that need to be polished. There's an understanding of the playbook that needs to continue to be developed. But here's the thing. We are under the impression that Sam Leavitt has the job locked up, secured, no competition. There is competition, and Jeff Sims is providing that competition. Now, does that mean Sam Leavitt is going to get usurped of the starting spot? I don't think so. I will also let you know, Sam Leavitt still looks good. So it is his job to lose until further notice. There's just more of a competition here than we thought there was initially. Where before we thought that Sam Leavitt was tattooed in as the starter, nobody's going to challenge him at all. Now we're looking at it and we're like, I don't know. If Sam Leavitt starts playing bad, he's going to have Jeff Sims on his tail. It's a great problem for Arizona State to have, because you went into the summer with no depth at quarterback. You only had 2 quarterbacks on scholarship before you added Jeff Sims with Sam Leavitt and Trenton Bourguet. You had Navi Bruzon as a walk-on. You add Jeff Sims, there's 2 more walk-ons that ASU added as well. There's at least options at quarterback, but you didn't necessarily have someone that you truly believed would push Sam Leavitt for starting time. Now you could have that. I'm not going to tell you definitively for sure, because we're only a week into training camp and Jeff Sims could fall apart. But Jeff Sims could also just get better and better and better. There's actual competition now at the quarterback position, and it's a great thing for ASU. It's that old saying, iron sharpens iron. These guys are going to be able to make each other better. Maybe Sam Leavitt is going to have a different mindset now. I don't know what his mindset was before, but in a scenario here, playing out a scenario, maybe before he thought, oh yeah, it's my job, I don't got to worry, blah, blah, blah. Well, now he has to worry, because if he starts playing bad and Jeff Sims, the trajectory keeps going up for him, he might lose his job. It's a great problem to have right now for the Sun Devils. One more thing I want to mention with Jeff Sims. This dude's an incredible athlete. I mean, he is fast. When ASU first brought him on, one of the things that I brought up was, could you get him involved outside of quarterbacking? Could he be a tight end, which was where my initial thought was. But could you split him out wide at receiver? Could you do 2 quarterback sets and have him in the backfield next to Leavitt, and you could have the option to hand it off to Jeff Sims, or Sims could take direct snaps? You could do your Sparky formation, but you do it with Jeff Sims instead. There's a lot of possibilities that Jeff Sims opens up for you because of the pure God-given athleticism that he has. It's not something that the Sun Devils have on the team right now. It's not something they've had since Jaden Daniels. And we remember how dynamic of an athlete Jaden Daniels was, and how the whole offense would open up because of his ability to run. Jeff Sims, is he that caliber? No. But he still brings that upside to your offense. You understand that Emory Jones is a good comparison because of the situation that Sims is coming from. You're hoping that ASU has learned from their mistakes, and it's a different staff. It's not the previous offensive coordinator, whose name is escaping me at the moment. It is Marcus Arroyo. It's Kenny Dillingham. They will be able to place their players in the best position to succeed. Who knows? We might end up seeing some significant playing time from Jeff Sims this year. And it might be as a starting quarterback. But we'll see. I know a lot of people may be scared by that statement, but I'll tell you from witnessing it in person, Sims is a lot better than he was advertised by me and by everybody else. We're going to go ahead and get to our next portion of the podcast as we take a look at a secret weapon for the offense. We'll hop into that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Passion, drive, patience. The winning formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And the eBay Guaranteed Fit means that your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thanks for making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, check out the Locked On College Football podcast. Great friend of mine and friend of the podcast, Spencer McLaughlin, is going to get you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with upcoming discussions for the season and the changing landscape of college athletics. This includes conference realignment. This includes the transfer portal, NIL, the new expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Back into our show now and taking a look at the potential secret weapon that the Sun Devils might have found themselves in their backfield. Let me introduce you to Alton McCaskill. Now, McCaskill is not somebody who's been overly talked about this offseason in the running back room. I know I've recently started talking about him a little bit. It's time to start talking about him a lot of bit. He is a former, what were they? AAC Newcomer of the Year for Houston before they joined the Big 12. He ran for almost 1,000 yards and I think 16 touchdowns. It was a crazy season for him. He then, unfortunately, tore his ACL, missed his second season, transferred to Colorado, appeared in one game. He was still recovering from the knee injury, and then entered the transfer portal again and lands at Arizona State. He is, as far as we know, 100% good to go. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's got a lot of time to be able to get back and turn that career around for himself. High-level player. He is a really good runner between the tackles. And during practice, and keep in mind, this is a really good running back room for Arizona State. It's got Cameron Scanabu, Carlos Brooks, and everybody else. But McCaskill, there were times where he looked like the most explosive player out of the backfield. He is so gifted in the ability to cut on a dime. He looks like a quality receiver too. But his vision and his patience to set up his blocks, very impressive. The ability for him to cut and go, very impressive. It's something that really catches your eye. And again, I talked to other people who have been at practice all week, and I said, hey, this guy's catching my attention. What do you think? Glowing reviews. Alton McCaskill is somebody that is turning into the talk of the town. Jeff Sims has definitely been the most headline-worthy guy. Alton McCaskill is someone who we're going to start talking about him a lot more. There is whispers that he might be running back 2, only after Cameron Scanabu, ahead of the Carlos Brooks, ahead of Raleek Brown, Kyson Brown, Jason Brown, anybody else in that room. Alton McCaskill could be number 2. And if he continues to play the way he does, By the end of the year, I'm not saying he usurps Cameron Scadaboo, because I think that Scadaboo is incredibly talented. He was really good last year. I anticipate him to be even better this year. But by the end of the year, could we end up seeing closer to a 50-50 split between Scadaboo and McCaskill? Part of the reason why McCaskill has taken a while to get to that point where he could take over as a starting running back, he was recovering from a knee injury, a serious knee injury. There was probably some discomfort and maybe even a little bit of I wouldn't call it a negative mindset, but wondering how much you can trust that knee to hold up. It happens to a lot of guys. Is typically you will see that players are a little hesitant in their first year back from a major knee injury, want to make sure that they don't aggravate it or, God forbid, re-tear it and do damage that is really going to screw everything up. He's taken his time. He's had a year and a half now to get that mindset, to be able to get comfortable, completely ready for the field, all the physical therapy, all that good stuff. Check it off. Now that he looks back and he looks confident, he might just be one of the best kept secrets on the Sun Devils team, offensive or defensively. He's a weapon, and he's a weapon in the passing game as well. For a Sun Devils team that Kenny Dillingham has said wants to run a pro-style offense and wants to be able to have 2 tight end sets and run a fullback every once in a while, have the ability to not be a gimmicky offense, it's important to have 2 running backs that can split time with each other, and it's important to have running backs who can catch the football. Alton McCaskill looks like he can audition himself to be running back 2 on this team right now. He catches the football, like we said. He is a good runner, like we said. The confidence is there. And I think that's the biggest key when you're talking about Alton McCaskill right now, is seeing the confidence that he has in his knee and his ability to run the football. If you didn't tell me that he had previously tore up his knee, I wouldn't have thought about it. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind. He looks totally comfortable out there. Very natural. It's not something that you would look at and you go, you know what? He's struggling, kind of. Struggling is not really the right word. He's trying to figure it out. He's rebuilding that confidence. That's not there. This is a player that looks ready to go from day one. And like I said, I'm not ready to say he's going to take over for Cameron Scadaboo or anything like that. But I do believe that by the end of the year, if he continues to build off of everything that he's making for himself right now, you could end up seeing closer to a 50-50 split by the end of the year. You could see McCaskill looking like maybe the best running back on this team. And obviously, not just a secret weapon, but just flat out one of the best weapons, not even in the backfield, in the passing game, in the end zone. Like, he scores a bunch of touchdowns. Maybe he's your goal line back. I'm not sure. But there's a lot of different possibilities that Alton McCaskill opens up for your team if he is able to take that step forward. We're going to transition to the last part of our podcast now. We're going to talk about the freshman defensive backs and how they have been stealing the show on the defensive side of the football. We'll hop into that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel now. I love sports. I don't want them to stop, but we don't have playoffs right now. The good news is preseason is right around the corner for us. Sports aren't sporting like I want them to just yet, but FanDuel is going to keep sports going whenever I want. All I got to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. So there's something for everyone to do every day, all summer long. You heard me right. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Wherever you get those podcasts, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post a new podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. And again, check out the Locked On College Football podcast if you have not already. Get in touch with all the big information you need to know before the season starts. These freshman defensive backs are crazy, man. They were guys that caught your attention during spring ball. You had 3 guys that were able to be early enrollees: Rodney Bimage, Tony-Lewis Nkuba, and Chris Johnson Jr. And in spring ball, they were impressive. They were players that you're watching them and you're like, how long have they been on this team? And then someone tells you you're a true freshman and you go, I don't believe you. That guy looks way too good to be a true freshman. Okay, well, what was his recruiting status? He was a 3-star. No, he wasn't. He had to be a 5-star. Nope, he was a 3-star. He was a 3-star true freshman who is already out there looking like he's ready for the next level. These 3 are very confident players. These 3 are guys that I've been very high on. I initially was super duper high on Chris Johnson Jr. That was one of my guys in the recruiting class. I placed him on a pedestal. And don't get me wrong, he has not been removed from that pedestal because I am still very, very, very excited for Chris Johnson Jr. for this year and even beyond. But there is somebody who has grabbed my attention a little bit more, and that's Rodney Bimage. Bimage during spring ball, I won't say he was untouchable, but he was as close to it as you're going to get. ASU's got a lot of depth in the secondary this year. They've got no shortage of safeties, and they got a ton of corners that you need to figure out what you're going to do with them. You have LT Welsh, who is corner 1. You have Cole Martin, who is your starting nickel. Whoever corner 2 is, you're trying to figure that out. If it's Javen Robinson, if it's Keith Abney, if it's Rodney Bimage, or somebody else. Keontae Bradley is another option for you. Rodney Bimage has very quickly made a name for himself in Tempe. I would not be surprised. I thought about this yesterday. I slept on it, and I feel confident saying this, and maybe it's a hot take. The way that he is playing right now, if he continues to do what he's doing, I could see him be a week 1 starter. I could see him being corner 2 opposite LT Welsh. He has been that good in camp. I am absolutely all in on the Rodney Bimage hype train. If no one's conducting it, I will gladly be the conductor of that hype train. Rodney Bimage looks nuts. He's going up against some of the best receivers on the team, whether it's Tyson, O'Mary, Stoval. And by the way, Melcon Stoval has been another standout for the team. Someone else that I've been really high on. But Rodney Bimage, this is a freshman that could very, very quickly find a way to be a big-time impact for the Sun Devils in 2024. At worst, he's going to play a lot of games this year in a reserve role, and he's going to end up being one of the key foundations of the secondary for 2025 and beyond. But he's playing at a high enough level that you're going to see him this year. I promise. I promise you, as long as he is healthy and as long as he continues to string together these strong practices, because he was already good in spring ball, now he's doing good in training camp, you're going to see Rodney Bimage a lot this year. You need to get used to that name. That's a name I want you to put down in your notes and say, okay, Richie Bradshaw said Rodney Bimage is someone I need to look out for. And who knows, maybe you don't hear from him for the first month of the year because they could be figuring out their secondary. They might be rolling with some of the veterans. But eventually Bimage will get on the field. I am making that guarantee. He will get on the field. And when he does, I want you to remember that I told you all about him. I'm not the only person. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I am. But I want you to remember that I was in on Rodney Bimage. Chris Johnson Jr. is another one of my guys. Like I said, I was high on him before he got to Arizona State. He was one of my favorite recruits from the class. He was a state champion in Texas. I can't remember where he played. I do not have it up in front of me. he was really, really good. And he still looks good. Tony-Lewis Nkuba is another guy that has looked really, really good. He is someone that is really starting to string together some strong plays. He looked very quality during spring ball, and now he is continuing to build on that confidence. These three alone, all corners, by the way, and ASU is looking for corner depth. They all look very confident and comfortable as true freshmen. I also want to shout out Kyan McDonald, who is going to be a safety for the team. The safety depth is nuts. It will be very difficult for Kyan to get on the field this year. Between Xavier Alford, Shamari Simmons, Kamari Wilson, Ghost Rouser, just those four, it's going to be difficult to get on the field. And then you have some wild cards like Montana Warren. I know Keith Abney is getting looks at corner and safety. There's a lot of guys to be taking a look at here. But Kyan McDonald, from the practice I got to see, made a few plays. Someone that I am just putting in the back of my mind, little footnote for myself, revisit it down the road. If he starts standing out, be like, I'm pretty sure I saw him make a play. I want him on my radar. I'm not saying you guys need to. I am putting him on my radar. I am saying put Rodney Bimage on your radar. Rodney Bimage is special. If he is able to stay healthy, and as you know, I don't like predicting injuries. I don't like bringing them into the conversation. But for what it's worth, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to get on the field this year. He's going to be really good this year, and he's going to be one of the cornerstones of the future of the secondary. He's a stud. He's a beast. He's awesome. Chris Johnson, no what's the word? No slouch. There you go. No slouch himself. Tony-Lewis Nkuba, not him either. They all look very good. And in a corner room that's got depth and they got veterans, it's that much more impressive that these freshmen are catching your eyes so quickly. Couple of quick hits I want to point out. Like I said, Melkon Stoval, someone that I've been high on. He looked good in camp yesterday. I spoke with people. They said the same thing. Melkon Stoval is having a very strong camp. I have said before, I wouldn't be surprised if he was wide receiver 2 on this team, behind either O'Mary or Tyson. I stand firm on that. I'm probably leaning towards wide receiver 3 right now. I would put him behind those two, O'Mary and Tyson. He'll be in a dogfight with Jake Smith. Offensive line, they're doing all sorts of shuffling right now. I know that there is a wide open battle at left tackle. It is not locked down to Josh Atkins, who I have said on this podcast, I believed he was going to be plug and play at left tackle. That might not be the case. Emmett Bully is getting some opportunities on the left side. There is a open competition at left tackle. Inside, all sorts of stuff going on. Right tackle, it sounds like it's Maxi Oniker's job to lose. Tight ends, Kenny Dillingham says he likes the versatility. He likes how big they got, but they need to be able to be flexible, catch passes, and do a little bit of everything. He wants the versatility from the tight end position. Defensively, we talked about the secondary. At linebacker, Keyshawn Elliott, he looks as advertised. He looks very good. He is going to step into that Trey Brown role and be that veteran linebacker for some of the younger guys on the team. From the interior, CJ Fight looks good. Not a surprise. Clayton Smith looks great. Not a surprise. There's tons of guys on this defensive line to be paying attention to right now. Those two, they're as close to plug and play as you're going to get. I've said before, I'm really big on Elijah O'Neal this year. I didn't see him necessarily blow up yesterday, but it's one practice. I'll have to talk around. I haven't heard anything about him. I'm excited for him nonetheless, though. But that is me catching you up to date on everything that I was able to see yesterday. Don't worry, I'll keep you guys in the know for everything that I get to witness and that I get to account for. I'm not going to give you guys secondhand information based off of other people's practice reports. I'm going to let you know what I found out, what I find out, whether it's through conversations with people or if it's me witnessing it in person. So if you want to be in touch with all of that, now's never been a better time to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. You can stay in touch by following me on Twitter, RichieBrats36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. I appreciate you guys for making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. If you have not hit subscribe on YouTube yet, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 1,000 before the season starts, and we'll find a crazy way to celebrate together as a channel. We will be back again tomorrow. We are full-time on the show right now. We got lots to talk about. Before we go, I want to address some of the comments that I've had about being I wouldn't say non-biased, but I got called out for saying they a lot when referring to Sun Devils football instead of we. I do my best to be objective. I am absolutely a biased fan when it comes to Arizona State. I do my best. I promise you during the season, you're going to see a whole different side of me when it comes to talking about this team. I basically pick them to win every single week. So just hang around. I promise. You will definitely enjoy a little bit of bias every now and then from me, but I do try to be as objective as I can. That being said, we'll see you tomorrow. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.